Morning, Trainiacs. Large swim day today. And on the heels of the ever popular, we're talking, I gotta say, 40, 50 million views. Not quite. Of what runners can expect when they get into triathlon, here is what swimmers can expect when they get into triathlon. So we have a very sizable swim on the other side of this whiteboard. Really big. I told Coach Jerry from Tower 26 that I wouldn't share the workouts, but I'll share that's how many meters I've got to do. That'll take a while. So swimmers getting into triathlon, if you have a really good solid background in swimming, you are ahead of 95% of other triathletes. That is the biggest impediment to most triathletes getting into the sport and getting good. But if you have a background in swimming, we're talking Laurence Delisle, Lauren Brandon, Lucy Charles, Josh Amberger. All of these former swimmers get into triathlon and very quickly they're doing quite well. They're expecting what you can expect if you're a former swimmer is that you're going to progress a lot quicker at the start than a lot of people because swimming transfers over really well to cycling. Swimming fitness transfers over really well to running. It's got that lengthening aspect to the stroke that running doesn't. Running and cycling don't necessarily apply to swimming, but swimming applies really well to those two because you're going to have a really big engine already. You're going to have overcome the biggest obstacle in the sport. So your floor of the low end of your fitness and the low end of how you'll do in triathlon is going to be higher. Now, cleaning the pool deck. Now, as far as training goes, expect to have let's pick this up after the swim, okay? The end of that swim was a perfect segue into this next point. That was a 900 meter just steady effort at the end, staring at the black line. Leading into the next point, when swimmers get into triathlon, a whole new lease on life. You don't have to just stare at a black line. You can talk to people. You can do other sports. You can work on strength. Black line is the devil. Now, related to that, from what I've heard, ex-swimmers say that it's nice to be able to talk to people and have that tighter sense of community. In swimming, your face is in the water. You can't hear shirt. But in triathlon, apparently it's really rejuvenating and invigorating to have people clapping for you and you can hear it. And you get that awesome sense of community because you are more in touch with the people around you. Now, granted, triathletes are a little more A-type, a little more direct, a little less goofy. You guys are silly billies. Triathletes, we can be lame. Lighten up, triathletes. Trainiacs, cool. Most triathletes can be lame. All right, let's get on to some of the training aspects, shall we? Okay, so here's where it gets a little less rosy for the swimmer. Now, when you go from swimming, which is non-weight bearing, to particularly running, which is very weight bearing, and to a lesser extent, cycling, you're going to encounter a heck of a lot more injuries than you experienced in swimming. Hence, you gotta spend a ton of time and effort focused on maintenance, on strengthening, you've got really strong cores as swimmers, but there's just a lot more niggles and crap that pops up. It's not all la-di-da like in swimming where you can just swim, and as long as you've got good technique, odds are pretty good you're not gonna get injured. Most people get injured as triathletes. Thank goodness we're not runners. Basically, this entire pain cavern is dedicated to injury prevention. Now, as a swimmer, you ate a lot, and you might have a water bottle on deck with a little bit of electrolytes, but as a triathlete, you have to worry about all kinds of things. You gotta have gels, you gotta have chews. This is actually the lightest that this drawer has ever been. You gotta have bars. When you are going from one sport into another and having to be ready for that second sport calorically, you need to focus on nutrition way more than you ever did with swimming. Because with swimming, you could just bury yourself in a workout, and when the workout's done, workout's done. In the case of triathlon, however, you gotta fuel as if you're trying to make it through an entire day of effort, because you are. So a really big focus on nutrition that you wouldn't have had while you're swimming. I gotta stock up. Now, when it comes to running, for one reason or another, we don't see a huge number of swimmers becoming amazing runners at the pro levels of triathlon. In the age group ranks, your engine and just your physical fitness is a much bigger aspect of it. So I'm sure that most of you, when you're going from swimming to triathlon, are going to do quite well in running relative to the field, but we don't see a ton of those swimmers just nailing it in the pro ranks, besides Lucy Charles. So there might be an aspect of swimmers just not adapting to running as quickly. Granted, like I said, you got huge engines, so you already got the base of fitness to become a good runner. You just need to work on the technique. Now, something that you're really gonna have to get used to is the amount of gear that you need to buy in triathlon. You need gear, and gear, and gear, and gear, and gear. Now, in swimming, you can get away with a pool bag of equipment that maybe cost you $100 to $150. Slap a Speedo or a one-piece on you, you're good, set to go. You don't need much else. What does a kickboard cost? $7 worth of foam? Yeah. Maybe call a banker and just let them know that you're going into triathlon. And then they'll be like, let's get the triathlon banking forms out. We're a bunch of suckers. But one thing that's a big draw to triathlon that makes it fantastic is that it's a lifestyle. You don't hear a lot of swimmers swimming to their ripe old age with their best friends being swimmers and going on swimming holidays and just swimming and making it a part of their social circle and really their overall lifestyle. Triathlon, however, you can make it your family vacations. You can make it your morning group of friends. You can make it the group that you go for coffee with on the weekend. If you do get injured and burnt out in one sport, move to the other too. There's always something that you can work on. And what I find is that because it's such a cool community, people end up doing it for their entire life. It's a very fun time. So with that said, thank you for watching. If you are a swimmer and you aren't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button below because we have a daily triathlon video with all the tips that you're gonna need and the recommendations for, like, you know, just what first $30,000 you're gonna spend on gear is gonna be. Later, Trainiacs.